Welcome into the Chief Studios post-game show. I'm your host, Fred Davis. Man, what a didn't see that one coming. 21-20, Chiefs lose to the Detroit Lions opening game of the NFL season. And, this felt like the most pre-Mahomes era loss of the Mahomes era. Hats off to the defense. You didn't have Chris Jones. You only gave up 14 points from the defensive side of the football tonight. However, who knew that losing Travis Kelce was going to implode the offense tonight? And that's exactly what happened tonight as the Kansas City Chiefs offense looked absolutely awful in the second half. 2 field goals in the second half. You had a 2nd down and 2 inside the red zone that you ended up losing. You had a 2nd and 1. You ended up losing yards on that drive or on that next couple plays and end up with a field goal. Should have been a touchdown, or at the very least, get the first down, see what happens from there. But just an absolutely dismal performance from the offensive side of the football tonight. And when you look at what went down tonight, offensively, the offensive line did what they were supposed to do for the most part. I know a lot was made of Twan Taylor and his, stance and he'd been basically getting off the ball all night early and then waits until it's 4th and 20 to go ahead and get called for a false start, making it a 4th and 25. And I know a lot of folks are going to be wondering, why did you go for it on 4th and 20 or 4th and 25? My guess is they're thinking if they don't go for it, you force the Lions to kick a field goal, you stop them, and then you get the ball right back. But, look, whether you did it you punt, I don't know. It was just one of those situations where, and of course, that entire drive was a disaster anyway. When you look at, you had Kadarius Toney drop a wide open ball. You had Sky Moore when he did finally catch a pass tonight. And we're going to get to him later because he was another non-factor tonight. When he does finally catch a pass tonight, then Donovan Smith, who we knew had holding problems, decides to save his worst play of the entire game for the most important drive of the game. So he decides to hold the ball or get a holding call. And then when you do go back to Sky again, and he finally does get his hands on a ball, he gets the ball knocked out of his hands again. So Sky Moore, for a guy that, making in year 2, we're expecting him to make at least somewhat of a jump. And again, let's preface all of this with, it is week 1. You didn't expect to not have Travis Kelce. But at the flip side of that, if you're going to repeat, which is what this team is talked about doing and what a lot of folks expect the Chiefs to do, the one position group that everybody had questions about was the wide receiver group. And guess what? That was I don't know who was worse tonight, the wide receiver group or the running back group. Isaiah Pacheco, we'll look at what his final stats were. We'll take a look at some stats here in just a second. But he was, running game wise, for as good as the offensive line was for the most part in keeping Patrick clean for the most part, absolutely disastrous when it came to running the football tonight. There was no momentum on the running side of the ball. Pacheco, I think the longest run of the night. Well, your leading rusher of the night was Patrick Mahomes. All right. And if look, having Patrick Mahomes run as much as he did tonight is not going to be sustainable throughout the course of the season. And again, it's week 1. You trust the staff's going to make some changes, but for as promising as that second quarter was, when you finally thought the offense was going to make some plays, when you finally thought, okay, now they're finally starting to get into a little bit of rhythm, they're finally starting to figure some things out, then they go out and absolutely screw the pooch the way they did tonight. So let's take a look real quick at the box score. Again, not a impressive feat at all. 90 yards on the ground, 45 of that was by number 15. Isaiah Pacheco, 8 carries, 23 yards. His longest carry of the night was for 7 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who started the game, 6 carries, 22 yards. I mean, that's why he's still a Chief is anybody's guess. And then, of course, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and then that ill-advised Rashee Rice. But can we stop with Blake Bell under center? Okay, I get it. He played quarterback at Oklahoma. I get it. Everybody's petrified that you can't run a sneak with Patrick after what happened 3 years ago. But enough, okay, enough. Because again, you cost yourself what would have been an automatic first down. Chris Collinsworth talked about it. The Lions jumped on that particular play. They don't snap the ball. Rashee Rice, who look, your best receiver tonight was probably MVS. Justin Watson made some plays, but Rashee Rice looked for the most part. He did have that 125-yard play in the second quarter on that last drive of the second half, or excuse me, the first half. But Sky Moore was a disaster tonight. Kadarius Toney was an even bigger disaster tonight. So yeah, it was just not. And then Noah Gray, look, I'm not going to say he's not ready for prime time, but tonight he did not look ready for prime time. It was his time to shine. And look, I'm not going to say that I expected him to be number 87. That's entirely too tall of a task. And it's unfair to him at the end of the day. But at the same time, too, I mean, look, this is your third year in the league. You know this offense as well as anybody. I don't know how many times we saw him getting, mashed by linebackers, mashed by safeties. Again, he had that one nice play where he broke a tackle. Outside of that, Noah Gray was a non-factor tonight. The entire receiving core from top to bottom. I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling gave you what he gives you, right? I mean, he's a deep ball guy. He's not a possession receiver. He's not going to go over the middle unless it's 30 yards downfield. So again, he's not the kind of guy that's he's not a safety outlet, a safety valve for Patrick Mahomes tonight, and it certainly showed. We'll get back to the offense here. I just it's flabbergasting to me for as much that was made about not having Chris Jones tonight. Your defense played its ass off for the most part. All right. I mean, hell, the interception in the third quarter. I mean, obviously that was a pick, you had a pick six. And then of course, you made some plays. I mean, hell, you stopped them on 4th and 2. You gave the ball back with 2 minutes and 3 minutes, whatever it was. You gave the ball back to your quarterback. You gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes at what, the 40-yard line, thinking, okay, when Mahomes has the ball, I don't know about you guys, but I know I certainly thought when they, Justin Reed, God bless him, had a halfway decent game tonight, missed a tackle early on. Not, that's not the most unusual thing for number 20, but I will say played much better in the second half, knocks the ball down on 4th and 2, gives the offense the ball back. And we already mentioned what happened after that. So this was one of those games. I understand you don't expect to not have your best player, not named Patrick Mahomes, miss the game. You've been game planning all along, and he gets, you lose him 2 games or two days before the game. But you think you'd have enough confidence in the rest of that staff to at least step up and make plays. Your leading receiver tonight from a reception standpoint was Pacheco. All right. Pacheco had 4 catches for 31 yards. Valdez-Scantling, 2 catches for 48. Watson, 2 for 48. Noah Gray, 3 for 31. Sky Moore, 3 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Again, 1 catch that would have been a big play, gets called back because of a hold. Outside of that, Sky Moore, 0. Non-factor all night long. This was a guy that we expected to at the very least, be, again, I'm not saying he's going to be Tyreek. I'm not saying hell, at this point, he's not even he's not even MVS. But at the very least, did nothing tonight. 24 did absolutely nothing tonight. And that, I don't know what I'm more disappointed in, the fact that Kadarius Toney was a disaster or Sky Moore was a disaster tonight. So, again, just a brutal performance all the way around from this Kansas City Chief offense. And I think when we look back at the tape, the 2 things that are going to stick out the most to me when we go back and watch this, I can't fault the defense for what we saw out of them tonight. I really, really can't. Mike Dana made some plays tonight, the defensive line, and again, 4th quarter, last drive, when Detroit scores the go-ahead touchdown, all right. Yes, you would have liked them to have seen them step up, maybe make a stop, maybe force a field goal, something along those lines. But I can live with that, considering that you gave the ball back to your quarterback 2 more times after that, after the Detroit Lions took that lead. 21-20. And so, again, going back over the stats tonight, as for Patrick Mahomes, and I'm sure I'll be interested to hear his thoughts after the game. 21-39. Again, he was chucking the ball all over the field tonight. 21-39, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But let's call it what it is. When we look at what he did in the first half and just taking a look at the second half versus the first half, all right, Pat was 12 of 17 for 147 yards in the first half, all right? He completed 9 of 22 passes in the second half with a pick that bounces off our boy Tony's. And look, maybe you see why preseason is important. We know training camp's important. We know that whole aspect is, and for a guy that missed the entire training camp, it showed today. Kadarius Toney looked like a guy who missed all of training camp. Richie James, a guy who flashed at times during the preseason and who we heard about during training camp. Two targets, 1 catch, 6 yards. Okay, that's not going to get it done. Jerick McKinnon, for as great as a threat as he was out of the backfield last year, 1 catch for 10 yards, 2 targets all night. All right, on the ground, no carries for him. Again, for a Chiefs offense and for a team that has been as gifted offensively as any team we've seen, not just Chiefs history, but just in the NFL over the last half decade, to see them come out and lay an egg the way they did. More importantly, for them to lay an egg the way they did in the second half, I think is probably, and again, look, we can preface all of this with it's the first game of the season. You didn't have Travis Kelce. But that being said, Travis Kelce is going to be 34 years old. Okay. Are we, does this signal at least a little bit of trouble down the line as far as who looks like they could step up as over the course of the year? Now, we know that this offense is going to get better. We do know that the receivers are going to get more comfortable as the season wears on. We do know that at some point Travis Kelce is going to come back. They said on the broadcast tonight that they feel confident that he'll be back for week 2 against Jacksonville. I almost am of the opinion that, if he's not 100% against Jacksonville, do you go ahead and play him? Because look, after what you saw tonight, all right, this offense isn't the same without Travis Kelce. All right. As great as number 15 is, it's hard when guys don't catch, and it's hard when guys don't get open. And that was as big a problem as I've ever seen in the Patrick Mahomes era as what we saw tonight, where you just had situations where the offensive line did what they had to do for the most part, like I said. And again, we'll talk about this as the week goes on, and we'll get somebody from the offensive line side of the ball to chime in. But I get it. You're talking about 2 different types of blocking when you're talking about pass blocking versus run blocking. And, this is something that's kind of afflicted the Chiefs throughout the course of the Andy Reid and really the Mahomes era, is that you really haven't had that one running back. And there really has been, outside of maybe, the few times with Kareem Hunt a few years back. And then, I guess you could say Clyde's rookie year, when he ran the ball really well. And then, of course, there were times last year when Isaiah Pacheco looked good. But tonight, again, and you know what? Pacheco probably looked like a guy tonight that didn't play in training camp and missed all the preseason, right? And so you saw that tonight from the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, let's talk about that for a little bit. Look, Nick Bolton had a good game tonight. I thought the secondary looked good, although L'Jarius Sneed looked like he wore down. And again, there's another guy, right? There's another guy who missed a lot of training camp. You could see he started to wear down as the game wore on. Missed a couple tackles, had against Josh Reynolds. I don't know what he was doing, just basically let Josh Reynolds just catch the ball right in front of him and then run right around him right after that. So L'Jarius didn't look great. Had a great first half, but then you saw guys who missed camp, who missed time in practice, who missed the preseason, start to wear down in that second half. And that was one of the things they talked about. And Chris Collinsworth, who, by the way, I'm a Chris Collinsworth guy. I like Chris Collinsworth. Maybe he says some goofy shit from time to time, but at the same time, too, I do look, the thing I like about Chris Collinsworth, you can tell he enjoys calling a game. And I'm okay with that. But to what he'd said, when you play so many more snaps, it's obviously a different speed. It's obviously a different tempo. It's obviously a different attitude. It's obviously a different vibe, whatever you want to call it. Okay. You could tell. And that was one thing. And me and Henry Thomas talked about this a few weeks back on the Big Chief Show. Go back to the Detroit Lions at the very beginning of training camp when they were hitting on day one. And Dan Campbell said, look, we're doing this because I want us to be in shape and be ready when the season starts. And that's not to say that the Chiefs weren't, because I thought, like I said, I thought the defense was ready to go today. Again, a couple guys were down there towards the end, but the defense did not lose you the game tonight. Okay, the defense is not the reason why the Chiefs have lost, why the Chiefs are 0-1 to start the season. Okay, the Chiefs are 0-1 to start the season because you didn't have Travis Kelce, and your wide receiver by committee approach isn't working. Now, not a lot you can do about it right now. Trade deadline 7-8 weeks away. Let's not start freaking out just yet. But that was one of the most incomplete offensive performances from a wide receiving group I've ever seen with Patrick Mahomes. Guys just didn't get open. The play calling seemed a little off tonight. I mean, look, dare I say, did we miss Eric Bieniemy tonight? Look, it's the first game of the. I mean, is it a little presumptuous to suggest that you missed Eric Bieniemy tonight? Hard to say. I don't know what the game, how different the game plan would have been. At always, you're always questioning in an Andy Reid offense who's really the guy calling the plays, who's the one with the game plan. We know it's a collaborative effort, but I just wonder how, would the touches have been a little bit different, because we know how much love Andy gave Eric Bieniemy in the second half of the Super Bowl when a lot of the offensive changes were made. And you went from basically kind of a flip of what happened tonight, where you had a team that looked like dog crap in the first half of the Super Bowl, and then they played so well in the second half. Was Eric, again, didn't seem offensively that the adjustments were made tonight. Too many field goals, too many drop passes, and too many wide receivers just not getting open when it was all said and done. Let me give you, and look, it's going to be a long season, folks. Let's just get that out of the way, right? We do know that. It's going to be a long season. And I'm okay with that. You're feeling good if you took Detroit in the points. I do know that much. Let's see. We'll do a little something. And again, this is our first time doing this for the year, doing the Chiefs post-game show. We're glad to have you guys on board. Shout out to my boy Tab. I know he did. I think he was doing play-by-play today, but help get this thing set up for us today. Just a rough day, man. I mean, it was Thursday. I don't know about you guys, but I know I was excited about the game tonight. Got my spot ready, was all, excited about the game. Had my, little location here at the house, ready to watch some good football tonight. And, of course, look, I know a lot of you guys were concerned out there, but at the very least, I really did think I had high hopes for Noah Gray. I really thought Noah Gray, a guy who coming into tonight, we talked about this the other night, me and my boy Bitter Mike Babbo. We talked about this the other night. Noah Gray's career high coming into today was 3 catches for 45 yards. All right. So I thought, hey, look, he's going to start. This is his time to shine. Hell, Duke beats Clemson on Monday night. All right. So, your alma mater took care of business. Just give us 5 or 6 catches, extend a few plays, extend a few drives, be a safety valve for Patrick, and we're good. We're good. We can live to fight another day. If the Chiefs would have won this game 23-21, looking like as dog shit as they did today, it would have been one of those got by that one, and we'll live to fight another day. But instead, Noah Gray, like we said, 3 catches for 31 yards. I don't know who I'm, and I like I said, I got to say, I'm as disappointed as I am in Sky Moore, as disappointed as I am in Kadarius Toney. I got to say I'm equally as disappointed in Noah Gray. I really thought tonight was going to be the night that Noah Gray finally stepped up, finally showed us again. I'm not saying he's Travis Kelce 2.0. I'm not trying to put that kind of pressure on the guy. But at the very least, I thought he was going to be a serviceable tight end, a serviceable option for Patrick Mahomes tonight. Be that safety valve. Be that guy that can extend some plays. Unfortunately, he was not that guy tonight, and it showed. Patrick running for his life, didn't have that guy to throw to underneath, and it showed time and 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 time again tonight. I mean, again, 12 of 17 in the first half. Okay, 12 of 17 in the first half, 9 of 22. 9 of 22 in the second half was Pat Mahomes. Say that with me one more time. 9 of 22 in the second half. This coaching staff was outcoached by Dan Campbell. All right. I'm going to give, well, let's put it this way. Ben Johnson figured out a better game plan. And you know what? Hats off to Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn, I'll say this much. I'm going to give Spags a slight, I'm going to give Spags a definite win over Ben Johnson. Although, like I said, they did. I mean, look, Detroit did enough what they had to do to win the game tonight, right? But Spags not having your best defensive player. I thought the secondary played well tonight. I thought the linebackers were okay. Willie Gay was good, not great tonight. But your defensive line, considering that you didn't have your best player, and for a guy, but a group that's been unheralded, outside of number 95, I thought they did a tremendous job tonight. If you'd have told me that Pat Mahomes was going to go 9 of 22 in the second half, and this team was going to look as awful as they did in the second half, I'd have said there's absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way. And that's exactly what happened tonight. Give us a comment if you want to. Shoot us. I'm at the Freddie D on both X, Twitter, whatever the hell we're calling it these days, as well as Instagram. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Chief Studios as well. Obviously, we're going to do the Big Chief show. We got some interviews coming up. And then, of course, we'll always do the post-game show as well. Recapping tonight's 21-20 loss to the Detroit Lions. And look, hats off to Dan Campbell and that staff, man. I mean, they coached their ass off tonight. Like I said, Aaron Glenn, that is not the defense that we saw from Detroit last year. Now, again, look, they won 8 of 10 to finish the year last year, knocked Green Bay out of the playoffs. And for all the hype and for all the pomp and circumstance that came in with this Detroit Lions team, it's the same old Lions. And they showed flashes of that throughout the game today, right? I mean, how they could have taken charge in that first half, spit the bit there. Brian Cook comes up with the fumble recovery. But there was just so many missed opportunities for this Chiefs offense tonight. Like I said, the thing that was just so troublesome to me, and I think it's going to be the big takeaway for me tonight when you think back to this game and when you think about it all weekend long, is that your offense just couldn't get out of their own way. Now, it's easy to say, look, you wanted to go get DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, that didn't go through. There was other things that the Chiefs looked at receiver-wise, but at the end of the day, you decided Kadarius Toney was going to be your number one guy. All right, that's who you're going to, hitch your wagon to. He looked terrible tonight. Sky Moore, I just, for a guy that played in the preseason, for a guy that played in the training camp, for a guy that's in his second year in the offense, and for everybody saying how good he looked, to have 2 targets and 0 catches is absolutely inexcusable. Don't come at me with any. I don't want to hear any Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. Don't give me any slot comparisons to. I mean, hell, I wouldn't even call him Danny Amendola right now. Okay, at least Danny Amendola might have caught a ball or 2 tonight. Okay, I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know how they're using him. Okay, because that's the one thing about a Wes Welker or a Julian Edelman or hell, even a Danny Amendola, is those guys found ways to, find holes in the zone. And they played zone tonight. The Lions played zone. This is a team that was a predominantly man-to-man defense last year. They played a lot of zone tonight. And you're going to tell me no receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs could find a soft spot in that zone the entire night. The entire night, not one Chiefs receiver was able to find a soft spot in the zone. Noah Gray couldn't find one. Kadarius Toney didn't find one. Rashee Rice, yeah, he had like I said, he had a couple moments, but he's a rookie. I'm not gonna bite his head off at all. But again, as a collective effort, just complete disappointment for what we saw out of the Kansas City Chiefs tonight. So they've got some work to do between now and next week. Luckily, there's you got 10 days to figure things out. I just, look, the big question for me moving forward, and look, I'm not going to subscribe to the theory that look, you want Chris Jones back. I don't know if how much the Nick Bosa deal has affected the contract negotiations. Now, he said tonight on the broadcast, they said on the broadcast tonight that he has not heard from the Chiefs in a week and a half. Okay. Well, we've got to, okay. Well, Eduardo Garcia has already chimed in. Chiefs suck ass. You lost to Goff. They did. We did. We lost to Jared Goff tonight. I mean, there's no getting around that. I mean, what do you want me to say? It sucks. It's an absolute. It's embarrassing right now, if you want to be honest. But Eduardo, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention tonight. I'll say this, and real quick, let's since we got Eduardo on the line, let's tell you what our boy did tonight. Jared Goff, 22 of 35, 253 yards, and a touchdown tonight. Only sacked one time as well. The big difference for me, though, was the fact that David Montgomery, 21 carries, 74 yards, and like I said, he made a lot of that hay in the second half when that defense was pretty much exhausted. Jahmyr Gibbs only had 7 carries, but he did have 42 yards. As a team, the Lions had 34 carries for 118 yards, whereas the Chiefs, 23 carries for 90 yards. And, of course, 6 carries and 45 yards of that was by your quarterback, whereas your running backs gave you 45 yards. Your starting running backs, Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, combined for 14 carries for 45 yards. That was your running game tonight. Ugh. Tell you what, Eduardo, I don't know if you're a Lions fan or Raiders fan or what it is, but look, man, you're not wrong. The Chiefs lost to Jared Goff tonight. Give Jared, and you know what? Say what you will about Jared Goff. I'll tell you what, I will say this, outside the fact that he's got an extremely attractive wife. This is a dude who can make he can make all the throws, right? Shout out to our boy Big Woke. Travis and Jones were severely missed. I don't disagree with you on that, Big Woke. I'll say this much. Travis was far more missed than Chris Jones was tonight. All right. And I'm not taking anything away from Chris Jones. The sooner you get 95 back on that defense, the better. All right. And chances are, I don't know if you still win the game tonight. I guess that would be the question I'll throw out to you guys listening tonight. Who would have made a bigger difference tonight? I'm going to go ahead and say Travis Kelce, just for the simple fact that, again, the defense held the Lions to only 14 points. Okay. From Eduardo, Travis is a key in your offense, and tonight it showed. Look, there's no doubt about it. And I'm with you guys 110% on that. 100%. I guess my thing was this, and I texted this to a couple buddies tonight. I didn't expect the offense to implode the way it did tonight. Okay. Like, the fact that you were missing Travis Kelce, but it was like the other 7 guys had no idea what this. I mean, it was almost like you had 7 dudes who were in this offense for the first time ever. Now, Chris Jones wasn't there, or excuse me, Justin Ross, who we all loved and rightfully so, and he's a great story and all that kind of stuff. 1 catch tonight. All right. Again, he's not. He's still working his way in, and again, you're seeing what the difference is between primetime, real deal football versus what happens. And look, I'm not being foolish. I'm not saying you don't pay Chris Jones, but tonight, look, you're going to need to pay Chris Jones. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay Chris Jones. You didn't lose the game tonight because you didn't have Chris Jones. Okay. You didn't. And look, the two are they're mutually exclusive. Okay. You can still play good defense, not have Chris Jones, and still need Chris Jones. Okay. Don't misinterpret what I'm trying to say. You definitely need Chris Jones. Okay. What I'm saying tonight is your defense stepped up tonight without Chris Jones. Okay. That defensive line played its ass off. That linebacking core, Steve Spagnuolo, the secondary outside of L'Jarius Sneed, shitting his pants there towards the end. I think he just ran out of gas, if we're being honest with ourselves. You still held it down. You still held them to 14 points. And if Kadarius Toney, let's go back to that crappy offense tonight, could, hold the ball. I mean, who knows what happens if you don't have the pick six, and who knows what happens if he actually catches the ball on that last drive, right? I mean, that's the difference. That was the difference. The difference tonight was not having Travis Kelce. You survived, and I think, and let's be honest, if we're being fair to both sides of the football, the defense has known. They said tonight, like we mentioned, they mentioned tonight that Chris Jones hasn't talked or heard from the Chiefs front office in a week and a half. Okay, he's talking to guys. Hell, Pat Mahomes has talked about it. Hell, he showed up tonight. He was at the freaking game, for crying out loud. And what's up with his agents, by the way? Okay, I mean, these guys talk about a couple of goons. Anywho, the defense knew, Spagnuolo knew he wasn't going to have Chris Jones. And that game plan tonight reflected it, all right? And the guys responded. Now, like I said, and I'll put a bow on this after I say this, get 95 back in the lineup. Pay the guy his money. I'm still curious as to how the Bosa contract affected it. Now, they're saying that he wanted 3 years, $84 million, and then all of a sudden when the Bosa contract came out, look, Bosa's making $34 million a year. Aaron Donald's making $32 million a year. You're not paying you're not paying Chris Jones $32 million a year. And I really don't think that the Bosa contract should have that big of an impact on the Chris Jones deal. I really don't. Maybe does it ticket from 28 to 30 million? Does it go from a 3-year 84 to 3 years 90, 95? Okay, maybe. All right. And you know what? I don't think anybody listening or watching this right now or after what they saw tonight would have a problem with going ahead and giving him that money. I know I certainly wouldn't. Okay. So that being said, get Chris Jones signed, get him back in the mix, and let's rock and roll on the defensive side of the ball. Because I'll tell you what, that defense didn't look bad tonight. And now granted, Detroit was without Jameson Williams, but that being said, that was a top 5 offense last year. Okay. And that's an offense that's going to be really, really good and get even better because right now, tell you what, they've got receivers that can catch the ball. They've got receivers that can get open. Okay. They don't need an all-world tight end for the rest of their wide receivers and the rest of that offense to function. That Detroit offense has 10 times more playmakers than what the Chiefs do right now. Chiefs don't have anybody. I'll tell you what, they don't have a David Montgomery, which pains me to say. They don't have a Jahmyr Gibbs. Hell, they tried to get Josh Reynolds a year ago. They sure as hell don't have anybody in the same zip code as Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay. I mean, hell, Marvin Jones made some plays tonight that none of the Chiefs receivers came close to emulating. So, we got the best chiropractor in the business tuning in right now. Shout out to my boy Dr. Corey Minky in the house. Even if Kelce doesn't score tonight but makes 2 to 3 catches, that would be enough to either get the other wide receivers to figure shit out or give them close enough for a 3-pointer. Couldn't have said it any better myself, Doc. By the way, go check out my boy Corey Minky, In Align Chiropractor over there in the Phoenix area. If you're in Phoenix and you need your back worked out, go see my boy. He'll get you taken care of. Best in the biz, hands down. I'll tell you what. I don't know if maybe some of these Chiefs need to be stretched out. If so, hold on, my boy C Mink, that's for sure. But no, you're right, man. As Voided Track Star drops. I'll tell you what, if that's not the story of the night, I don't know what is. You couldn't have said it any better myself. Voided Track Star. What a great name, by the way. Voided Track Star. Feel free to share with us what that means. Real quick, we'll run through the stats one more time. I know you guys are probably pinching yourselves. Hopefully none of you guys look. I hope none of you guys I made the mistake of starting Isaiah Pacheco in one of my fantasy teams tonight. 8 carries, 23 yards, and then he had 4 catches for 31 yards. Isaiah Pacheco was your leading receiver, receptions wise. Yards wise, it was Valdez Scantling. He had 2 catches, 48 yards tonight. But that was your receiver. That was your those are your 2 receivers leading the night tonight. Richie James, where were you at tonight, by the way? Outside of almost fumbling the ball on a punt return, but outside of that, again, the entire offense was an absolute disaster tonight. I'm not sure how I feel about the new look offensive line for the most part. I mean, look, I think we all realize Aiden Hutchinson is a monster. Okay. Now that being said, I thought our boy Tawan Taylor did a pretty good job. The whole, guessing the snap count, let's calm down on that just a smidge, okay? Because, again, when you did it in the most inopportune time and you got called for the pass, I mean, and again, 4th and 20, 4th and 25, what difference does it make at that point? I understand it, but I don't know. It was just offensively, tonight's game offensively reminded me of the time when we didn't have Patrick Mahomes. The D's mic drop moment was giving the offense the ball back with 2+ minutes to go. It absolutely was. It absolutely was. I mean, look, as I said earlier, even though that defense gave up the go-ahead touchdown, midway through the fourth quarter, your offense with Patrick Mahomes, if I told any of you guys listening, Voided Track Star, Eduardo, Corey, we had one Big Woke. If I'd have told any one of you guys listening, hey, we're going to be down a point with halfway through the fourth quarter, but Patrick's going to get 2 different chances to win the game, what would you have said? And oh, by the way, one of those chances was going to be near midfield. Done. Ball game. That's it. We're done. Now we're taking this bitch home. We're gonna win ugly. We're gonna call it a day. We're gonna figure shit out over the next 10 days. Hopefully Travis gets right, and we're going back to we're going into weekend 1-0. No, not one. As Travis Kelce would say, not nary of y'all would have thought we were going to end up in the situation we ended up in a 4th and 25, throwing Hail Marys to fucking Sky Moore, for Christ's sake. So that's my deal tonight. So I'm just, like I said, I'm our boy Edward Garcia. I ain't even a Chiefs fan, and I would have bet my money on Mahomes. Look, bro, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Our boy Wade Track Star, same thing. I thought Mahomes was going to pull it out, but the receivers let him down. They absolutely did. So real quick, I'll just give you guys, and if you guys want to chime in, the top 3 of the night, top three players of the night, and the bottom 3 players of the night. Okay. My top 3, I'm going to go with number 1. Man, this is tough tonight. I'm going to tell you what. My number 1, I guess you got to go with Pat, right? You got to go with Pat. All right. My man was out there fighting for his life. Sky Moore could have caught all of those. Yeah, he absolutely could have. Bottom 3, I'll tell you what. Sky Moore, and this is all going to be just one. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and the entire fucking receiving corps. Fuck them all. Okay, week 1. Come on, give me a break. Nick Bolton. I'll tell you what. I'm going to give the defense my number 2. Okay, I'm going to give the defense my number 2. Why? And I'm going to say defense Spags on my top 3. I thought Spags coached his ass off tonight. I thought the game plan he had was incredible tonight. I felt really, really good about what they did. Look, you had a 3 and out. Then they go down and score. Then you get lucky. You get the fumble on the 3rd drive, because if they punch that in, all of a sudden it's a different ball game, right? But you force the fumble, and all of a sudden now the Chiefs are back in it again, right? Then the offense comes alive, and finally, okay, now we're back into it. And the defense really, from that moment on, from when they forced that fumble inside the 10, Brian Cook recovers it, till really the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, that drive where they had the go-ahead touchdown, the Chiefs defense, and then really, we could point to maybe 3 drives where the defense was and on one of those, you forced a fumble. The other 2, you gave up touchdowns. If I'd have told you guys tonight that the Chiefs defense would have stopped the Detroit Lions and held them to 14 points without Chris Jones, there's not one person who would have taken that. There's not one person listening, watching, whatever right now, and we'll think about it for the next 10 days. Every single one of us would have said, I'll take holding Detroit to 14 points, because I'll tell you what, if I'm holding Detroit to 14 points, you're going to tell me that, and of course we didn't know what an abomination the receivers were going to be tonight. We're taking that L. We might have won with Blaine Gabbert at 14, with holding the Detroit Lions at 14 points. At least we would have thought going into the game, right? So Mahomes number 1, Spags in the defense number 2, and number 3, it's kind of a reach, but I'm going to go with Harrison Butker as number 3. Why am I going with Harrison Butker number 3? I'll tell you why. Number 1, he's healthy. Okay, that's number one. He didn't fuck his ankle up on the first play of the game, kicking the ball off. So I'll take that all day, every day. Number two, he looked money on his field goals. Right? I mean, those ball. I mean, right down Main Street, plenty of leg. Look, I mean, hell, every single kickoff was through the end zone. So Harrison Butker looked good tonight. You're gonna need him down the stretch. It's always good to have your kicker feeling good about things and healthy, especially with as many big kicks as he's made over the last 4 or 5 years. Having a healthy Harrison Butker goes a long way. And again, I mean, look, this is like the Nick Lowry days where we're talking about the fucking kicker, for Christ's sake. Okay, like when we have to talk about Harrison Butker as one of the top 3 performers when it's not a game-winning field goal being involved, that tells you all you need to know about this offense tonight, okay? And you know what? I'm going to say number 4, even though he didn't play, was Travis Kelce, okay? Travis Kelce is going to get an honorable mention, okay? Him being on the sideline let us know every time we watched him in street clothes, made us realize how much we miss this guy on this offense, okay? And I would have never thought with Patrick Mahomes, our quarterback, that losing one guy was going to change the trajectory of our offense the way it did, but it certainly did tonight, and that's why the Chiefs lost 21-20. All right, last thing, bottom 3, Sky Moore. Can I mention him twice? Kadarius Toney, the entire wide receiver core. We're going to give them a big X-nay. I'm nitpicking a little bit here, even though I gave him props on the top 3. I'm going to go ahead and say on the bottom 3, L'Jarius Sneed, and I'm doing this with an asterisk because, again, I know he missed a lot of training camp and he had his moments in the first half, but L'Jarius did not look good in that fourth quarter. So I'm going to go ahead and just say slightly on that front. And then lastly, my bottom 3, I got to go with Brett Veach. Okay, I'm going to give Veach a bottom 3. Why? You didn't give my man a bona fide receiver outside of Travis Kelce, okay? This is what we were all worried about. We all thought, you know what? Lowry would be proud. Thank you, Corey. This is where when you take a guy like Mahomes for granted, and, I thought about this. I was talking to some people earlier. When you talk about we talk about how Peyton Manning would throw to guys like Austin Collier. You would talk about how, the receivers that Tom Brady had throughout the course of his career, right? But they always had that one guy. Like, it doesn't matter who the great quarterbacks are. They always have one guy, okay? And I guess you can say, I mean, we know that guy's always been Travis Kelce. Well, with not having that one guy tonight, it showed, and it showed in spades. Reed's play calling was conservative. I think it was, but at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I appreciate you chiming in, Steelers freak. Reed's play calling was conservative, but I think that was a byproduct of what he saw out there. I mean, look, what were you going to do? Okay, I mean, I don't blame you. And think about it this way, Steelers freak. The one time you do decide to let's get crazy, let's get gimmicky on 3rd and 1, and we're going to have Blake Bell hand the ball off to the rookie, Rashee Rice, who, by the way, bobbled the ball when he caught it to begin with. Okay, so I think the play calling, I think he did the best with what he could do. I don't think you could get too ahead of yourself with the play calling tonight because I just think that you were stuck. I mean, who are you going to turn to tonight? I mean, that's what we're going to be scratching our heads over the next 10 days. Who were you going to turn to tonight? It sure as fuck wasn't going to be Noah Gray. All right. It sure wasn't going to be Kadarius Toney. It sure wasn't going to be MVS. All right. I mean, as much as we love MVS as a guy, okay, where was he at tonight? Where was the guy who you're paying? What's he getting? $30-40 million over 3 years, whatever it was. Where was he at tonight? Okay. Yes, he made 2 great catches. I'm not taking that away from him. But at the same time, too, where was he at on those on that last drive? Where was he at in the second half? Okay. Justin Watson drew the pass interference penalty. That helped, okay? Outside of that, again, he's just a deep threat. That's all you're getting out of him. You've got and again, don't tell me that Sky Moore is going to be that Wes Welker type when I saw nothing out of him tonight. Because, look, Wes Welker, that's 8-9 underneath catches. How do you not get open for underneath catches? That's what I want to know. How are you going to tell me that Sky Moore is of that ilk, and yet he was nowhere to be seen tonight? And not even – and look, Pat didn't even look in his direction until the second half. Like there was didn't even look at him in the first half and only threw to him 3 times in the second. Now, again, the one catch he finally did make, and maybe this is one of those deals where it just kind of sucks to be Sky Moore. The one catch he finally did make, guess what? Donovan Smith decides to, pull or hold on one of the biggest plays of the game. So let's see. This game will turn out to be a good thing. It will wake them up. Undefeated doesn't matter. Rings do. Couldn't have said it any better myself, Steelers freak, and it's a nice way to kind of put the bow on things. I will say this, all right? After every, look, it's easy to point, and I guess my bottom 3, if we're going to talk shit about the running or the receivers, we need to throw the running backs in there as well. Why Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still on the team is anybody's guess. Okay, I don't know if anybody can tell me. At the Freddie D on Instagram as well as on Twitter and X. They were equally as bad as the wide receivers. We know that this is obviously not a run-heavy offense, but again, your running game did nothing to help you out throughout the course of the game, and did nothing to take the load and the pressure off of 15, which we do know, and we don't care who you are as a quarterback. When you've got a good running game, that helps in spades. Chiefs were only 2 to 4 catches away from winning this game, maybe by their teeth, but at least a victory. Couldn't have said any better myself, Dr. Corey Minke. Well, look, that's going to do it for the Chiefs Studios post-game show. Look, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. You don't want to lose opening night. You don't want to lose on an opening night Thursday. You had the entire world watching. The takeaway from all tonight's game is this. Even when you do get Travis Kelce back, all right, what this game helped do is give you a glimpse into the future, all right? And sometimes, and look, we're all Chiefs fans. We're all football fans in some form or fashion, whether we're Chiefs fans, whether we're Steeler fans, whatever team you root for. The Chiefs saw tonight what life is going to be like without Travis Kelce. Now, we got to believe. Hopefully, he's got another year or 2 left in him. How is he going to be playing at a high level like he's playing right now? That remains to be seen. But you saw tonight, defensively, you can make some hay. Pat's still Pat. The offensive line isn't bad. But by God, these pass catchers in this run game is going to have to improve. And on top of that, you got to feel confident that you've got the coaching staff in place to help make those changes possible, and that we'll see a different Chiefs offense in 10 days. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening and for tuning in. Look, it's a tough night to be a Chiefs fan. Shout out to all the Detroit Lions fans out there, all right? Look, on the flip side of it, I'll say this much. And my boy Henry Thomas spent 2 years playing for the Detroit Lions. It's a good story, okay? For all the hype, for all the pomp, for all the circumstance going into the season, the NFL did it right. The NFL knew that Detroit Lions were going to be a team to be reckoned with. That NFC North is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. Dan Campbell is a guy that you can get behind, that you can root for. And I'll tell you what, say what you want about tonight's game. It was a very well-played game as far as from a penalty standpoint. It was a clean game, okay? And for the first game of the season, you could do a lot worse football-wise. Again, it wasn't sloppy. It was just good football. And, I mean, it was sloppy from a Chiefs standpoint, but overall, for the first game of the season, you could do a lot worse. And like I said, my hat's off to the Detroit Lions out there. It's going to be a fun season for all you Lions fans out there. And I'll tell you what, it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun to meet you guys again in the Super Bowl. A lot of football left to be played, though. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Shout out to my cuz, my boy, Dr. Corey Minke, Steelers freak. Appreciate you tuning in. M.A., trade Chris Jones. Let's not get there quite yet. Shout out to my boy, Weighted Track Star, as well as Mr. Eduardo Garcia and Big Woke. Don't forget, subscribe and follow us, Chief Studios, here on YouTube. We got the Big Chief Show that's coming up again. We'll have a show on Sunday as well. And then, of course, we do a show every Wednesday and whenever we have interviews. Go to Chief Studios on YouTube. Check out our interview with Christian Okoye. Check out our interview with Pat Mahomes Sr. Check out a conversation we had with Henry Thomas. And then, of course, look, we're going to do this all again in 10 days. And hopefully everybody's healthy and hopefully everybody's signed during those 10 days. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at @TheFreddieD. For everybody tuning in, for all the Chiefs fans out there, hey, tough loss tonight, but as Marty Schottenheimer once told Ted Johnson, It's not about where you start, it's where you finish. Thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. Go Chiefs.